A projected overspend of £22 billion. A £22 billion hole in the public finances now. Not in the future, but now. £22 billion of spending this year that was covered up by the party opposite.
While it may report, as I'm sure others have, and nowhere in that report, nowhere, does it mention £22 billion. It's not there at all. In fact, the only reference they have to a number is to be found on page 2 and in table 1, and even the Treasury, straining every sinew, could only find numbers that added up to 9.5, and even there, the OBR says, and I quote, "It is not possible to judge how much of that might actually have been realised." So when the Chancellor said there is a £22 billion black hole, the OBR report yesterday now proves that was simply untrue. So will she come here and apologise for providing that number to the House when the OBR report now shows it simply wasn't true? And certainly doesn't justify £40 billion worth of tax rises, the largest tax rises in any budget in history.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the budget in October, I had to fill the £22 billion black hole left by the previous government. But there are huge opportunities to grow the economy in the East Midlands. But when I arrived at the Treasury on the very first day, I was alerted by officials that this was not how much the previous government expected to spend this year. It wasn't even close. In fact, the total pressures on these budgets across a range of areas was an additional £35 billion. Once you account for the slippage in budgets you usually see over a year, and the reserve of £9 billion designed to respond to genuinely unexpected events, it means, Mr. Speaker, that we have inherited a projected overspend of £22 billion. A £22 billion hole in the public finances now. Not in the future, but now.
What we inherited was insecurity in our economy. We inherited a £22 billion black hole, and we have now turned that around. We've got the highest
pound black hole in their spending plans, raising serious questions about their credibility. Understand why this story is so explosive. We need to set the stage. The UK is facing one of the worst economic crises in decades. Inflation is soaring, public services are stretched to breaking point, and families are struggling to make ends meet. Against this backdrop, Keir Starmer and the Labour Party have been trying to position themselves as the party of fiscal responsibility. But a recent report has revealed a £22 billion black hole in their spending plans, raising serious questions about their credibility. Understand why this story is so explosive. We need to set the stage. The UK is facing one of the worst
politicians, and Ray Bosdet, who voted for you, wrote in to say, "I thought I might regret my vote within a year. I certainly didn't think I would regret it by the first decision made by the new government to attack the pensioners, those in this country who cannot go on to strike, to show our disgust."
Sum up how it feels to them. Christine on email says, "I'm over 70 and work full-time, not because I want to, but because I have to. And now a Labour government has stopped my winter fuel payment. I rely on this to heat my home. I already pay an extortionate amount of tax on my minimum wage job and my state pension. I have no chance of getting extra benefits. So I hope they sleep well at night in their nice, warm beds." What do you say to Christine this morning?
It's not a decision that I had to make yesterday. It's not a decision that I wanted to make. It's not a decision that I expected to make. But when I became Chancellor 3.5 weeks ago, I asked Treasury officials to do a full audit for me of the state of the public finances and public spending. And there was a £22 billion black hole between what the previous government had said they were going to spend and what they were actually spending. And if left unchecked, that would pose a risk to our economic and financial stability, finances and public spending. And there was a £22 billion black hole between what the previous...
Speaker, the fact of the matter is this. They left a £22 billion black hole. And they hid it from the OBR. Richard Hughes is absolutely clear. It's the largest year-ahead overspend outside of the pandemic. Now, of course, when it comes to mitigations and impacts, we put those in place. Ramping up pension credit, dealing with housing benefit and linking it, something the party opposite didn't do for years. And because of the tough decisions that we're making to stabilise the economy, we can make sure that the triple lock shows that increases in pensions will outstrip any loss of payments. But before complaints about us clearing up his mess, perhaps he'd like to apologise for the £22 billion blackout.
Through the door next door was to audit the books. What she found was a £22 billion black hole this year. Now, she had a choice: pretend it isn't there, walk past it, or deal with it.
Now, I just want to stop you there. I just want to stop you there. On that 22 billion, I want everybody watching this to know and understand that nearly half of that 22 billion, £9 billion, comes from decisions that your government has made to give many public sector workers pay rises above inflation, including junior doctors getting 22% of an increase over 2 years. So again, when it comes to winter fuel allowance, that was a choice. It was a political decision for the reasons that you say. You want to sort out the economy. But how can you justify it to viewers who feel like it is an attack on some people who've worked hard all their lives? They're not wealthy. They don't have money to spare. And this year, if it's cold, they're going to be looking at the thermostat and wondering if they can pay their bills.
Let me take that